What's up, Windwalkers, and welcome to my Mythic Fractillus guide for Manaforge Omega. I've decided to try and do these guides a little differently this time around, where I actually look back in retrospect and go through each aspect of the fight, from talents and gear, all the way to how each of the hero talents play out during the fight, and my thoughts on all of it. The video will be split into two parts. The first part will be the analysis and discussion of the encounter, and the second half will be a clean run through of the whole fight. This will be the structure of all these boss guides, and I think this makes it easier for you to see the encounter with a commentated discussion, as well as the option to watch the fight without interruptions. As with all of these guides, you can find the talent builds I recommend in the description, as well as the advised trinkets and timeline reminders for the relevant hero talent. Cool! I hope this style of video works well, and the analysis helps you with either getting your first takedown, or just getting a nice juicy pass. Anyway, let's get to it. I think I'll show you this. Because this was our raid plan, essentially, for the fight. We didn't have, like, an actual raid plan like this. It was all, like, these images here. One thing to note is you kind of have a set position within the fight, or you should have a set position, because every single player gets the massive circle on them right after the break. I was always orange 4, so up here in the top left corner. These positions are not set in stone, right? Like, let's say everybody on orange has to do a break. Everybody then, like, you're ranged, you're immobile range, you're not running to the other side of their room to get into their position, are they? Like, it's impossible. They'd be trolling. So it's more like a guideline. For a lot of these, yes, my position was orange 4, but sometimes it's just not. Sometimes it's, you know, use your, you know, what's the word? Intuitive. Be smart with your movement. And we're watching this fight that I wasn't. I was a stupid boy who jumped back to number 4 at one point and almost killed himself / other players, because that's just bad play. But I can show you, but it's easy to show you the punishment of it as well. There is Transcendence tech for this boss, and it comes in the form of your position. You'll see that as well, and we'll talk about defenses as well for this boss fight. But first of all, we'll talk about Conduit versus SHADOPAN. Initially, I think this was a Conduit fight, and I think it's because the timing of this fight was perfect for Conduit. You kill this boss on prog, or like a few weeks ago, at about 5-minute 20-ish. The benefit to that is you've sent your 4-minute 30 cooldowns as Conduit, which means you finish more or less at the end of, like, your cooldown, like a little bit afterwards, but you finish, like, pretty soon after your cooldowns. Whereas SHADOPAN, you would have sent at 4 minutes, which means you actually would have sent like a minute and a half. You killed the boss a minute and a half after your cooldown, so you've actually had a lot of downtime in between, whereas Conduit didn't. We now down this boss at 4-minute 43. This is a really fast kill. And this meant that I didn't get full value from my Conduit cooldowns, because I had a break. I wasn't able to properly do it. Like, my cooldowns would have been sent at 4 minutes 33-ish. So I'd only have got 10 seconds anyway of my cooldowns regardless, even if, like, I was able to get it with the break. So the issue now comes in, well, this boss is only going to die faster, right? It's only going to be quicker kills, quicker takedowns. So, what does that mean? Well, that means the cooldown of 4 minutes actually sounds a lot better, right? Well, suddenly SHADOPAN's now better for it. You killed the boss sooner to the 4-minute window than you did to the 4:30. It actually makes sense to play SHADOPAN. And I think the faster you down this boss is actually going to change which one's better. If you kill it closer to a SHADOPAN cooldown window, it will play better for SHADOPAN. If you kill it closer to a Conduit cooldown window, it will play better for Conduit. So it's going to be like almost a week-by-week basis on how much faster you kill the boss on the next reset. So right now, I think this is a SHADOPAN fight. It's one of those fights where you kind of have to have Araz Ritual Forge because it's such a short fight. Nether Prism, you'd only get two sends of Nether Prism, which is just not good enough. And that's why I ran Lily as well for Conduit. It's just not good enough to only have 2 sends of Nether Prism. Potentially even 3. Well, 2.5, I guess, if we're counting the pull you're about to see. Whereas Lily gets the one on pull when you've lusted. We love lust. We love having buffs during lust. So, Lily for Conduit makes sense. Or another 1-minute 30 trinket. I don't think there are any, actually. Lol. Good game. Or a 2-minute trinket, like, or for 2-minute for SHADOPAN, something like, obviously a Raz, maybe Signa of the Priory could also be another 2-minute one. Something that just lines up nicely with 2 minutes. And then once again for Conduit, pure single target, nothing special or exciting here in terms of build, 1-minute 30, Zuin's battle gear. This is pretty standard single target Conduit. If I was playing SHADOPAN, it would be pure single target 2-minute SHADOPAN, which would look, well, I was going to say similar to this. It wouldn't look similar to this at all. On prog, I ran Nijiao's protection, and that's because I timed Fortifying Brew with the worst damage. As the heals have got stronger, because healers have got more gear, and we've got more gear, and we take less damage, Jade Sanctuary is probably fine to take. But Nijiao is actually pretty good as well. Also worth noting here that this is the first time I take Iron Shell Brew, and I recommend you do as well. Because the breaks, right, essentially okay, we'll go through the fight, but essentially you're not going to Fortifying Brew on this fight, or shouldn't have to, under 2 minutes from the last one. Every 2 minutes is when you have to Fortifying Brew, so you might as well get the extra, damage reduction and stuff like that. And that's why Nijiao's was also good, because you got the massive, mana shield? Absorb shield. But now I just take Jade Sanctuary because I don't need the shield. It's just unnecessary at this point. But I'd run this for Shadopan as well. Iron Shell Brew. All right, let's check her out. There's not going to be much to say on this fight in terms of like things to look out for. It's not going to be like me talking a lot about when to send cooldowns and stuff like that, because I'll be honest, you send cooldowns on cooldown for this boss. It is a weak horror fight, right? All you need to just be aware of are markers and your position during the intermission, right? What is my marker? When I need to do a break or I need to do a place. Where am I roughly meant to be standing during each of the, damage reduction things? So important to note, I pop Karma and Pull here. And it's useful because the next time I'm going to Karma is exactly roughly 1 minute 30-ish from now. So Karma and Pull for this boss, you won't need it another time. Defensives on this fight always come at a break. So what does that mean? The break happens, that's when a few players get pushed back and break the wall, and then the big circles spawn. If you get a break mechanic, you pop a defensive a split second before it goes off, so you get the defensive for the break, and then you also get it for the big circles. If you don't get a mechanic, you don't get one of the break mechanics, you pop your defensive just before the circles come in, or prior. So you can see I actually Fortifying Brew here. This is worthwhile mentioning, actually. There is a very specific time Fortifying Brew is the only one that doesn't because of the 2 minutes. I will go back here. Oh, I went back too far. You need to Fortifying Brew at a very specific time before the first break. Go on. Where is it? I jumped back so far. Whoops. Come on, do the countdown. Right, 6 seconds from now. I'll freeze it when I Fortifying Brew. So this is the one time that you do press Fort Brew. Let's say you had the break, for instance. I don't have the break. I still press it the split second before the break. It's important to do this because of the 2-minute timer on it, right? So now this comes in, and Fort Brew, because it lasts for 15 seconds, right? It lasts for this entire time. And then that allows you to have it for the next break in the cycle when you actually need Fort Brew. So I'm stood in my position. You can see about 500 other people stood in my position as well. So I try to find a safe spot. That was very scuffed. But you can see how little damage you actually take on these things at the start of the fight, because everyone's got cooldowns, yada, yada, yada. And Fort Brew just gives me a lot of protection there as well. It's your best defensive for this. My video freeze, or did I freeze? No, the video froze. So Fort Brew is by far the best defensive for this. Actually, Fuse Magic's also pretty good, but I prefer Fort Brew because you can give it the Iron Shell, which means it lasts longer, so it can be better for the break and for the circles. But Diffuse is probably the actual strongest one in a split. So you can see I barely had any mechanics at the moment, and I'm going to get my cooldowns again in 15 seconds. You can see that I have my Diffuse timer come in. It's just so that I know that if I get the break, I pop it. I'm holding it still, I'm stood in my position, and then I Diffuse Magic, right? I Diffuse Magic just before it comes in, because I know it'll be up for the next one. And I moved into the safe spot as well. You can see that even though my spot was orange, right? This is my spot on the sheet. Someone else was overlapping me. Do I just stand there like a melon because it's my spot? No, I moved to the open area because, let's try not overlap as much as possible. If you can find a safe space, try run into it, because eventually these will hurt. And even if you're not getting one shot, because we have good defenses. This is one fight where I think our defenses are really good. Because they work like just well for this fight. Other players' defensives do not work well for this fight. Other specs' defensives are not as good as ours. They don't have a defensive like this for every single set that do exactly what we need them to do for it. So a lot of the time, even though you're overlapping, you might survive. Your friend, if they're a shaman, they're fucked. I'll tell you that. If there's someone with like limited defensives, they ain't gonna have a good time. Yeah, Once we come out of that, instantly send cooldowns on cooldown, like 1 minute 30 odd whenever I sent them last. And Conduit's good for this fight. It plays out. The benefit to 1 minute 30s is that there's actually no overlaps with the breaks. The worst times to really send cooldowns are essentially the breaks, right? Because you don't want to be sending out a cooldown when you're getting knocked back or having to move into position and stuff like that. But for 1 minute 30s, they line up kind of pretty much perfectly. There is one situation where they slightly overlap, but it's not the end of the world. That was an amazing play by me there. See that? I walked into the boss to try to get into a safe spot, got knocked into all the circles, survived. It is possible. I had no big defensive there. Bad play / small brain. Yeah, you like, there's not much to talk about. Like, it is literally just a make sure you stand in the right spot. Because if you mess up once and people don't know about it, it's probably a wipe, right? Like, the spawns, I've all played with a weak aura, but the weak aura doesn't fix itself if you put it in the wrong spot. If I put it in star there and didn't say anything, the weak aura doesn't just fix itself for everybody. You're right. You will just wipe because no one else will be playing off that information. They were playing on the information that you place in the right spot. So this is one of those examples where, although I'm orange at the moment for this position, I noticed there were like quite... Well, actually, orange is quite open. I should have moved. The reason I didn't is I saw that there were orange breakers here. In replay, I should have moved to orange 100%. But because I saw that people were breaking on orange, I thought this would be a lot more crowded. You'll see later in the fight that like certain things like this do happen. When lots of people break, they don't run over. I guess we just had a lot of players that can run over at the time. So instead, I tried to find an open spot here. I just about do before it pops. So this was fine. And this is just because the other player moved to let me in there, right? But realistically, I should have moved over. Otherwise, you get lots of stacking. But once again, Fortifying Brew. Good time to pop Fortifying Brew. That overlaps with that. Running out of things to say for this fight because it's not the most engaging fight and there's really not much to say about it. I'll be 100% honest. It is just a weak aura fight. What's coming up? 1 minute 30 cooldowns again. 3 minutes. What are we going to do? We're going to send them. Yeah. Like, it can actually be worth mentioning. Let's go back a little bit. Because I'm not actually that familiar with 2 minute cooldowns here. Right, so I think what you do here is, because this is when Zuin would come back up, right? If you're playing SHADOPAN, for instance, 2 minute cooldowns. I would wait till this finishes, and you're in a safe spot, or at least be in a safe spot, and then I'd send my cooldowns. It would be a couple of seconds later, but that's when I'd send it. I wouldn't send it as the break comes in or anything, because it's too messy. But if you are playing 2 minute SHADOPAN, I'd just wait a couple of seconds. It won't make much of a difference in the grand scheme of things, and then that's when I'd send out my cooldowns. I imagine it's the same for 4 minutes. We can have a look at that. What do we do here? We're just spawning a wall, sending our cooldowns. Very engaging fight. Very engaging fight. Can we get to 4 minutes? Right, so here's another situation. Right, so this is when I'm going to do my Transcendence thing. And there were some pools where I got to do this loads, some pools where I didn't. It really depended if I got the break wall on orange to really do this. Because if I got another spot, there was no point ever doing it. Because my spot was like in the orange area, right? If I got blue, there was no point in putting a Transcendence down and porting back to that, because there would be another player stood on blue. So I play here, I put my Transcendence, and I pop Karma, please? Yeah, I pop Karma just before it comes in, and then I dash and Transcendence back. Now, in a smart person's world, I would have noticed there were a lot of players here and just stayed in the back and suffered the loss. I properly Transcendence really quickly, and now I'm stacked with like 3 players. Jesus Christ, help me. I should have died. Bad thing. Because you can see how much room there is actually here at the back. There's a ton of room here. So realistically, the best thing I should have done is not insta-transcended, because there were a lot of people already here. I should have just stayed at the back, wait for these to blow, and then stand in a safe spot like over here or over there. But just showing you, this will show you that you can Transcendence back to your spot after you get knocked. You get knocked, you can do like a roll light the net instantly back to where you are with Transcendence. So that's a good way of trying to do that. Sometimes it works amazingly. Like on the first breaks and stuff like that, barely anybody stands in different positions because there's not a lot going on. So I found that was always like the best time to get that off and always just instantly get back into position, back on the boss, hitting, stuff like that. And once again, working out, we're at 4 minutes and a break has just gone off. But because we delayed the initial SHADOPAN cooldowns here, if we were playing SHADOPAN, you'd have your cooldowns up now, and then you'd send them. So actually, like, 2 minute SHADOPAN, you just delay your cooldowns by about, like, 6 seconds for 2 minutes and 4 minutes, and then you'd absolutely send. Other than this, we have 1 Fortifying Brew, and this is why we look Fortifying Brew, because the next breaks are going to be relatively brutal. We don't really see them because now we killed this boss so fast. But this is one of the hardest sets in the entire thing. Probably the hardest set because I think you do multiple, you do like the big wall break. You can see how many of us are on orange, right? Like this is stupid. And this is why I always saved a big fortifying brew for this one. Because if you got this, you're taking a shit ton of damage from breaking this. On top of that, you've then got to have defensive running for the next set. So that's why I always pop fortifying brew very early in the fight, then at the midway point, and then always had it back up for this point. And 2 minutes just helps that. Like the 2 minutes fortifying brew with more damage protection, really good for this. Because you can see, like, if you're unlucky enough to get in this row, you are just taking so much damage from everybody in the break and all that. Like, is the worst overlap in the entire fight, the most dangerous one. You can see even health pot, health stones called in the note, right? This is the one that you want your best defensive for. And diffuse magic's good, but I'd rather just have the fortifying brew here. And if I was playing conduit, which I was, Nijiao's protection for the extra 25% health shield. Very strong in this position. And then this is why I don't like conduit as much, because like you can see how fast the boss dies, and usually I would have sent cooldowns after this knock, even though like we're well past 4 minutes 30, right? I would have sent it out after this knock. The boss is dead. Like the boss is literally dead. So this is why I get so little value from the conduit cooldowns now, and why I keep saying that I think this boss is a lot of bosses as well. Like what have I gone over? Plexus Sentinel, Lumathar. I think they're very dependent on kill times, which is going to make or break it. And I think if your kill time is literally when we did it now, like 4:44, that's a horrible kill time for conduit because of the break overlaps. If you're able to send at 4:30 without a break, fine. That's just not how it works. There's a break there. You've got a lot of damage to avoid and stuff like that. It just doesn't time out very well for it anymore. Whereas if you down it around 5 minutes, that 4:40, when you send the cooldowns, that lines up perfectly. You just finish the boss fight after sending out conduit cooldowns. Amazing. Thumbs up. You're in a really good position. And that's why I think SHADOPAN's just going to play better in this fight for a while until we start getting to sub 4-minute kills, in which case, then I think Conduit's probably stronger again because it will have had the cooldowns which were more close to downing the boss, right? So that's how I think these sorts of bosses are going to play. I think overall SHADOPAN's probably just better on all fights in general, and you can easily get away with playing SHADOPAN on every single boss this tier and have no troubles at all. But I think that there are situations where you can just do more as conduit if the situation arises, right? Like, I think cooldowns are so important, 1 minute 30, 2 minutes. And what's cool is we have the flexibility to do that, right? You can play 1:30, you can play 2 minutes. They are different hero talents, but whichever one the boss kill timer lines up better with might be better for that fight if it's more single target and not like massive AoE fights, in which case conduit sucks. So yeah, that's Fractillus. At the end, it's a weaker boss, guys. It's a stand on your marker when you have a marker above your head telling you to stand on a marker, press a defensive before every big circle mechanic, pop cooldowns on cooldown. There's not really much more I can milk from this boss in terms of yappage. Like it just is what it is.
3, 2, 1.
Storm, Earth, and Fire. Touch of Karma. Invoke Xuen, the White Tiger. Storm, Earth, and Fire. Fortifying Brew.
Orb.
Safe spot triangle.
Diffuse Magic.
Shadow shell.
Invoke Xuen, the White Tiger.
Orb.
Storm, Earth, and Fire.
Orb. Orb.
Crystalline shockwave.
Touch of Karma.
Shadow shell.
Orb.
Shockwave smoke. Circle. Crystalline shockwave.
Fortifying Brew.
Orb. Orb.
Shockwave smoke.
Invoke Xuan, the White Tiger. Storm, Earth, and Fire.
Orb.
Crystalline shockwave.
Orb.
Diffuse Magic.
Orb. Orb.
Shockwave smoke.
Touch of Karma.
Circle. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Safe spot diamond. Shockwave smoke.
Invoke Xuan, the White Tiger. Storm, Earth, and Fire.
Orb.
Health Pot and Health Stone.
Circle.
Fortifying Brew.